And welcome to the DCEU Extra. Must there be a DCEU Extra? There is. Remember, if you've got anything to say about DC, tag me at Movies TV Mad over on Twitter, and I'll read it out here on my channel, on one of my shows here on Big Mouth. The reason we're doing a DCEU Extra, because there's a really good article from Rachel Labanotti over on Screen Rant about Zack Snyder's future with Warner Brothers, and I find it very interesting, and I think it's worth a read. Justice League is about keeping Zack Snyder, theorised box office analysts. Very interesting. With Warner Brothers spending over $70 million on Zack Snyder's Justice League, analysts are speculating about the studio's true motives. Box office analysts theorise that Warner Brothers' decision to release the Justice League Snyder Cut is in part because they want to keep director Zack Snyder. Years ago, Snyder was one of the primary architects for Warner Brothers, DCEU, and he was poised to craft a Justice League movie comic book fans were eager to see. However, Snyder was forced to depart the project due to a family tragedy. No, he was just forced to depart the project. And the ensuing product from reshoots director Joss Whedon proved to be drastically different than Snyder's original vision. As a result, fans spent the following 3 years campaigning for the release of the famed Justice League Snyder Cut. They finally won their battle in May when news broke that Zack Snyder's Justice League will be released next year on HBO Max. Snyder will get to make the project he always intended to, even conducting reshoots with stars like Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher. As a result of the additional work, Justice League will be transformed from a feature film to a 4-part miniseries, and its budget is reportedly a whopping $70 million, a hefty amount for what is essentially a passion project. It's more than a passion project, it's the original vision. It's what everyone wants now, right? The last detail has box office analysts questioning Warner Brothers' motives for allowing Snyder's Justice League to be completed. Observer talked to a few of these analysts to get their thoughts on WB's intentions, and ComScore's Paul, let's just call him Paul, stated he believes it comes down to the studio's desire to continue working with Snyder. Ultimately, Paul said it comes down to this. Everyone looks at studios as these monolithic, financially motivated entities. But when you see something like this, it tells you that more is going on. There's an X factor to consider. Do we want this person to work elsewhere, or do we want to keep them in-house? If it doesn't make hard objective financial sense on its face, then there are subjective motivations and factors at play. They want to be in the Zack Snyder business, just like Warner's want to be in the Christopher Nolan business. It's a long-term strategy. This is a really, really good point, by the way. Snyder has long been in business with Warner Brothers, even beyond his many DC ventures between films like 300 and Sucker Punch. The studio has shown their support for Snyder and his creative vision many times over the years. In releasing his Justice League, Warner Brothers is, by all intents and purposes, reaffirming that support. Undoubtedly, Snyder is grateful for this opportunity, and he very well might be interested in continuing his partnership with the studio going forward now that they've done this for him. Well, he's going to have to keep his relationship with the studio. It's mutually beneficial because he wants to carry on doing DC projects. And without Warner Brothers, he simply cannot do that, as we already know. In releasing Justice League on HBO Max, it's going to be less clear as to whether the film is a success for Warner Brothers. No, it won't. We're going to know if it's a success or not. A possible influx of new subscribers might give an indication about how well it has done. But for the most part, Warner Brothers appears to be taking quite the risk with Justice League. I don't think it's a risk. Dedicated Snyder and DC fans will surely turn up in droves to see the finished product. But only time will tell if casual audiences do the same. No, you're wrong. Still, if Snyder keeps working with WB, then the studio will likely see this experience as a success. He's going to carry on working with WB. They own DC. He wants to carry on doing DC. The mainstream audience, everybody else who's not Snyder fans, who's not DC fans, will subscribe to HBO Max over Intrigue. We've discussed this before. It's obvious, but I do think she makes a very good point, and the analysts make a very good point, that Warner Brothers want a relationship with Zack. They don't want him going anywhere else. Why? Because he's an artistic, unique director. They don't want him going over to Disney and start working on Star Wars or anything else. They want him at Warner Brothers. And for Zack, as I've said, Warner Brothers is mutually beneficial for him because they own DC and they'll allow him to do whatever he wants. The only reason they interfered with his creative freedom is because it was DC, because it does mean so much, because the financial capabilities of DC going up against Disney was very vital and important. They became reactionary, but in the past, they always backed Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder knows this and is grateful for this. And I mean, with all the crap said about Toby Emmerich, it was him who actually rung Zack up in November after the tweeting event, right, and asked him if he'd be willing to do this. Obviously, it was a straight yes. So it's very interesting because either Toby Emmerich was the one who caused the problems in the first place, which I don't agree with, but by ringing Zack up, he actually admitted he was wrong. For me, everything is well in paradise again. Look, it's a wonderful time to be Zack Snyder, to be his fan, to be a DC fan. There's so many things going on between the DC multiverse strategy, the DCEU, the Snyderverse. And once we get through COVID, there's going to be so many DC projects to get our teeth into. But right now, it's about DC, it's about the DCEU, and it's about the Snyderverse. And I think it's utterly great news that Warner Brothers want to continue their relationship with Zack. I don't really care what their motivations are for allowing him to put his Justice League movie on HBO Max. It doesn't matter. But of course, it's also financially motivated. It's probably all financially motivated. And obviously, having Zack back with them is a bonus for them. And it means everything to him. He doesn't need anything else but Warner Brothers. And they saw him going to Netflix. That worried them. I think that did concern them, that he could get an exclusive contract with them. And that would have been problematic to them. So they've really looked at this in an all-round balanced way. And well done to them. So as I say, it's a fantastic time to be a Zack Snyder fan. I want to know what you think. I always want to know what you think. Comment down below. Do you think Zack should work exclusively with Warner Brothers, or should he remain a free agent? I think he will be exclusive to Warner Brothers, but I think they will obviously allow him to carry on doing what he's doing with his zombie stuff over on Netflix. But there may be a partnership with Warner Brothers and Netflix with that in the future, which would be really, really exciting. But as I say, it's a great time to love DC and to love Zack Snyder. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back with more videos. See you again soon.